G'day, folks. Welcome to another episode. Thanks for joining us on Walk the Talk, where we come together as industry agents, entrepreneurs, people in business and life, just having a general crack. And today we've got a exceptional special guest who is a high-performing, solid producing, super consistent, very structured and organized agent that I'm incredibly honored and proud to be able to have the opportunity to collaborate with them. And put simply, this gentleman has gone through the highs and lows of life and business, but most certainly it's shaped him into the beautiful, humble, and hungry character that he is today. Tim Hosking from the Copper Coast, the man, the legend, the myth from Copper Coast. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Good to be here, Chris.
So, mate, we've had many conversations that I really enjoy about business and life as a whole. And as I mentioned, you've gone through battles, you've had ups and downs in life and business, and I think the battle wounds and scars shape us to what's in front of us today, right?
No, good.
You've been in the industry a long time. You've seen a lot more than me over that time. Tell me a little bit about how you came into real estate, because we'll talk about this just the other day. And again, I
Yeah,
find out all these little gems about you every conversation we have, right?
yeah.
Tell me about that story that you shared with me of how you actually landed in real estate.
I'm originally an electrician. I kept studying, so I got an advanced diploma in electrical engineering with hydraulics, pneumatics, robotics, automation, that sort of thing. My eldest daughter has a disability, and the downside with that was the moment I got into industry, it took me away from the family, and I needed to be the one there for my daughter. So I started restricting what I did. I started working for a welding company in Adelaide, and after working with him for 3 years, the boss came up to me one day on a Thursday and said, "Tim, so when are you finishing up?" I said, "Well, you're sacking me." Yeah, no, we're not sacking you. You get a job here for life, but Tim, mate, you're out selling all my salesmen. You probably need to look at something different. And I said, "Something different, like electrical, that's what I know." And he said, "You ever thought of getting into real estate?" And I said, "No, mate, I don't even know anyone in real estate." So I then did some research the next day, because if someone seeds a thought, maybe there's always something there. So I did some groundwork, found out what the cost was. It was 3 months with no income. It was a chunk of money to get into the panorama TAFE back then that I couldn't afford. And then on Sunday morning, I was in church, Christian City Church, and my pastor at the end of the service called me over and he said, "Tim, I've just been thinking about you. I need you to introduce you to Eric." I goes over, shakes Eric's hand. I said, "What do you do, Eric?" He goes, "I run a real estate company." I went, "Oh, really? That's interesting."
Yeah.
And then that night, I was sitting down with my in-laws in Kadina, and my father-in-law said, "So real estate, eh?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You done the research?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm not positioned. Well, we can work towards it." He said, "What are we talking?" So I said, "This is the course. This is 3 months with no income. It's this. These reasons mean it. It's going to be down the track a bit further." He went off to his bedroom, came back with a checkbook and wrote out the check for it, handed me the check and just said, "Hey, look, don't bank it if you're not going to do it." And I said, "Well, what I'll do is I'll contact my boss and I'll organise some leave." And so I contacted the boss of the welding company, and he said, "Tim, you've got leave. Just go." I came back after doing it for 2 weeks, and there were two pay slips sitting there. I said, "Well, what are they for?" And he goes, "Mate, you've always given us more than we've given you. So here's two pay slips. With love, you quitting?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gone." He goes, "Go study, enjoy it, love it." And yeah, so it was amazing to be in a place where someone's going ahead of you and organising things, and yeah, very blessed.
Beautiful people, mate, and it's helped you create a path and career that has spanned over several decades now. So, when
So
did you come into the industry,
that
mate?
was
When are
nothing
we?
more.
1994.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a period you came into the industry and you found it. Tell us a little bit about how you came into the industry, what the struggles were. You went out of the industry for a period of time as well,
Yeah.
had a break.
So, so I came into the industry. I worked in the Ascot's Park, South Plimpton, Glenelg area.
Yep.
Um, my boss, Eric, we ran this business from his garage in his place in Summerton Park. So I feel like I've almost gone full circle. back into a home base, and he didn't need all the bells and whistles of offices. He collaborated. He knew all the other principals of all the other companies around. On my first day with him, he went and introduced me to everyone, and they showed me where their key racks were, so that if I had a buyer for one of their properties, I could literally call up and go, "Hey, I've got this buyer." I could go and collect the key off the rack and go show a property. So
Wow.
this there was no us and them. We
Yep.
were all industry agents, and it was a very
Wow.
different period of time. That's 1994. So I did that for
Yeah.
3 years. Loved my time in real estate. Incredibly challenging when you're sitting there doing the course. You're sitting with guys sitting next to you that they say, "Oh, well, I was play football for Norwood, or I had this community access," or and they on their last day would bring in our list of names, and I walked in with 3 people I knew, and they
Right.
were with hundreds and hundreds of names of people, and they're being told how to go and contact them all, and I'm going, "Well, 3, yeah, great, you know."
Quick list
So
to get through.
so the reality was the only choice I had was to reverse directory
Yep.
and door knocking, and that was all morning at 5 days a week, 9 till 12. I'd reverse call, and then the afternoon was out peddling the same doors, knocking on doors. Had a little trolley that I took along with stuff that information people needed, and just knock on doors and just be present. That's all, and just keep it going.
It's
There's shortcut. You just got to keep doing the same streets over and over. I can
it's
still remember
insane.
a phone call from a lady saying, "Will you please?" And this is left on a message machine, of course, because there was no mobile phones back then.
Yep.
Nothing I could afford, that's for sure. And
Yep.
she left a message on the machine saying, "Tim, if you get this message, you don't need to leave any more business cards." We're up north on Bribey Island for 6 months. When we're back, you'll be selling our property. Anyone that leaves this many cards needs to get some business.
Yes, and I remember you telling me the story when you door knocked, they were never home. So every time you left a card.
Sorry,
Yep,
sorry,
sorry, I missed you.
your garden's looking beautiful. Your gardener's been. I had no idea that they weren't even in the area. So you know,
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
yeah,
Isn't it canny that, so many people like yourself, mate, have built businesses, very high performing and producing businesses consistently. You're a man that sells 100 plus homes every year consistently. Like that's a phenomenal volume, right? But it all comes back to those basic foundations of hard work, tenacity, persistence. Because there wasn't tech, there wasn't all the stuff that we have readily available to us today.
first first camera was out. It came
Yep.
right. Took
God, I couldn't even think of operating in those days, man.
graphics guy, sketched it up, faxed it off to the advertiser. I walked out of there, wrote up some dot points. We faxed that to the advertiser.
Yep. And
Now,
isn't
now
it funny?
everything's online, everything. And
Yeah.
sat down with people yesterday and in North Terrace here in Moota Bay, and she said, "Do you write the text for your properties?" I said, "Well, how else could someone know what the key features are?" She goes, "Oh, I read texts all the time that I just look at and go, what have they actually told us? Whereas yours," she says, "you've explained everything. There's nothing that's been missed." And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, I've been asked to do a professional job. Be a professional."
Correct. Yeah. And mate, I'm the same. I get so much business. I still proof all my marketing. I send it to my clients before we go to market because it
Yeah,
shows you're involved, you're invested, you're actually engaged, you care. And, I get a lot of clients that say to me, like, do you think your text is too much? I'm like, I can skin it back for you if you want, but you got to understand I'm emotionally connecting to your home and flowing through it as if the buyer
yeah,
was not able to see it and they were seeing it online only. It's so important. The one percenters make all the difference. And you are a man of one percenters doing things once, doing it properly. I know you're very OCD. You and our synergies are very aligned in that department, most certainly.
yeah,
But isn't it canny, mate? We rewind back to 1994, where a real estate business was built in the garage,
yeah.
and we look at to today, what's now starting to happen with, the cloud-based businesses that you and I are
I've
involved
been
in.
for 10
It's
years.
like it's like we're going back to that era. I mean, you look at Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, how they built Microsoft and Apple out of their garages, right? And here we are today working from our home office environments, super successful, high volume, and doing great things. So mate, tell me a little bit about your journey with, I guess, we mentioned before you're selling 100 plus homes a year. Like, how you're doing it. What are the methodical things that you adhere to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, like your non-negotiables? Because I mean, I've sold probably my best year 63, 65 homes. You're at 100 plus consistently every year. What is it you're doing to sustain and maintain that level?
No sleep.
Okay, righto. Tip
So,
number one.
it's interesting. I haven't door knocked for a lot of years, but if you go back 18 years ago, okay, 18 years ago, I moved back from Queensland where I was doing other work and wanted to get back in real estate. Didn't connect with a lot of the agents who were in the area. I met a young guy, Craig Costello, who was working for a Ray White franchise back then. He
Yep.
changed over and started Brock Harcourts. I joined him there, worked with him for nearly 7, 8 years. Loved my time working with him because we both had synergy of expectations. We wanted to put clients first. We were fully centered that it was about the vendors and the purchasers. Both had to win, but we had to know our vendors were winning. Okay. And so we got great market share. We trained a lot of other people up who end up becoming our competitors. But I mean, that's business.
Yep.
We then, when the GFC hit, I got out of real estate for a time because as a commission agent out this way, people just stopped buying. So there was no income. So I went and did other things. About 12, 13 years ago, my ex-wife went off and did something entirely different from the family. Didn't see it coming. I still have my 3 kids. She made some choices that meant that I had to isolate my kids from her.
Yep.
And that was a pretty tough time. Went through a really dark spot, even planned my own demise. Thought that might be the best way of setting them up because I didn't feel I had anything left to give. Contacted Beyond Blue and had a chat with them. They put me on a GP, and my GP met me in the street and took me
Beautiful.
aside, put my hand around my shoulder and said, "Come inside, brother. We've got a journey to go down."
Yeah.
And he walked the walk with me. All right, much
Yeah.
like walking the talk. He wasn't just a talk. He really walked with me, and that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Then when I lost my job where I was working because I wasn't able to be present.
Yeah.
I was physically there, but mentally I was completely elsewhere in a very dark spot. Some very wise men who I respect greatly. One of them pulled me aside one day and said, "Do you know where your kids are?" I said, "I don't even know what that question means." And he said, "Well, if you're chasing after someone who's already left, are you present for your kids?" And it was a wake-up call. And I said, "Okay, I've got to be dad. I can't try to resurrect what's not there anymore." So I set aside and went, right, this is it. It's my kids. Some very dark times through that period. But then Craig, who I'd done work all those years with, reached out to me one day and said, "Mate, real estate's really back on the market. Do you want to come in, step in and handle what I can't handle?" And I said, "Sure," because he'd moved off to Adelaide. Copper Coast was still running along for him. And so I stepped in, but I made it clear, mate, I'm a shadow of what I was. I can't manage people. And he goes, "No, you just do what you can. It'll be fine." The first client that came in when we were at the June's sales office walked past me and snubbed me. Walked up, spoke to Craig, walked out, snubbed me again. And Craig said, "You're going to go and deal with him this afternoon." You got to be kidding me. That guy's got so much bravado. There's no way I'm dealing with. I didn't end up dealing with him. I dealt with his wife.
Okay.
And his wife painted this picture: we're selling, we're selling. But that night, when I sat down with the two of them, no, that wasn't his agenda. And
Mm-hmm.
after half an hour, a bit longer, of just getting beaten over and over, everything I put forward, he'd smack me down on. I had no preparation. And there's no, if you're not preparing, you're setting yourself up. Well, I had no preparation because I didn't really know what I was walking into. But the reality was I was not physically or mentally prepared for what I was walking into. And he beat me up. And at one point, I've glanced down the hallway and you're going, "Yep, that's where the front door is. And that's where you should be going."
Ruthless.
Well, yeah, that was ruthless, but I'm really competitive by nature.
Yep.
And stirred something in me that I hadn't experienced for a long time. And I said,
Ignited something.
yeah, I said, mate, I'm not prepared. And he goes, no, you're not prepared at all. And I said, but I will be prepared. What say we meet again tomorrow night? And his wife standing behind him, shaking her head, like, you can't do this again. This is ridiculous. And he said, yeah, what time? I said, I'll be here at 7. He goes, I'll be waiting for you. I walked out of the house, got in my car, shaking like a leaf, and I phoned Craig. I said, what happened? So I said, Richard's done this to me. And he's going, oh, you don't go back. I said, yeah, I'm going back. I'm on the horse. I haven't
I'm
felt
back,
this
baby.
energy,
Yeah,
this,
this fire just ignited.
oh, everything. The adrenaline's flowing. I'm happy, scared. I'm hungry. I'm angry. I'm everything's emotional. So I got home and I was up past midnight prepping everything. Got up the next morning, prepped everything. Met with him at 7 o'clock the next night. Well, 3 weeks later, he sacked the other agent, engaged me full time, sold the property for him. I think I've done six other properties for him direct and his family. And I don't know how many referrals he's given me. And that would be 8 years ago. The guy doesn't
Wow.
even date. He's still referring business my way. When you get on the horse and you realize that, hey, that there is something to be achieved, yeah, just go for it. And yeah, loved being back on the horse. And I found my mojo. Worked with Craig for nearly 10 years with Harris. Harris were a great company for me. They looked after me well. But then there was a chapter where I had to start choosing how I choose to go forward
Yep.
for the.
Mate, that is, an incredible story. And isn't it just amazing that from tough times and the toughest possible circumstances that it can create the greatest of opportunities in life?
I, I look back and I truly believe that there's young kids that approach me and talk about, oh, we want to be a salesperson in real estate. And I said, yeah, go and get a checkout job.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
and deal with people. I
Yeah.
said, go and work somewhere. Go into property management. Go and serve somewhere where you're working with people and studying people and
Yep.
getting kicked and knocked and realizing that not everyone's going to be on the same page as you. Not everyone's going to like what you do. Not everyone's going to agree with you because the real world is people are messy, really, really messy. And it's
Mm.
when you start scratching the surface, you find out what's going on behind the facade that
Yeah.
people have with you. You're sitting there with them and they've got a big pile of agents' proposals sitting in the corner, and you're thinking, nah, that's just not a normal one. We're dealing with something here, and you because you've been through it. Like I went through bankruptcy. I lost everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't go any lower. Real estate was the lift out of the mire, but again, there was no hope that I'd be able to look forward to a great retirement. But the reality is, gee, you put in your work, but that coupled with the big pile, you say to them, well, look, I don't want to presume, but is there a chance you're about to lose your home?
Yeah.
And the
Yep.
husband gets up and throws things, he's cussing and swearing at you, and the wife burst into tears. And I said, okay, I'm sorry if I've hit the wrong spot, but is that what's happening? Because I lost mine.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd known what I know now, because maybe you don't have to. Oh, we've had our final letters. That's not the end. Do you want to stay? Because I can tell you how you can stay. Because it's
Yeah.
not selling a property, it's actually about helping people.
Yeah.
And if you're people first, property second, well, then the world's your oyster.
Yep. Spot on, mate. Thank you, and just being really open with and the rawness of your difficult times that you went through personally in life. Thanks for sharing that. It's I got goosebumps from it, mate, because it's very relatable. My old man's gone through a similar journey too, mate, and I'm just glad that God was looking over you and him, and
Yeah,
because the world's a better place for having guys like you and my
yeah,
father in this world. We all need good men, right? But I think there's a time in life that we all need to go through battles and challenges and the depths of the depths and dark places, because if you come out that other end, and folks, if you're watching this and you're struggling, just reach out. There's good people out there like Tim,
yeah,
yourself. We're only too happy to be an ear, and the right professional help. Definitely a great doctor as you
Mm.
had, as my father had, that built a plan out was, life changing, literally life saving. But it's interesting to see you come out now the other end.
I can remember sitting down with a financial counselor, and he's called me. He goes, "I've got a solution." I went, fantastic. Yeah, right. Rock up, sit down with him, and Northern Suburbs fellow, won't mention names. And we sit there, and I'll put everything in front of him. And he says, "Oh, right. That's it. That's all there is."
Yeah.
Oh, right. Hold on, you've got a solution. He goes, "Yeah, no, I was wrong. Mate, you're down the tube." Good
Yep.
one.
Thanks very much. Thanks for wasting my time. But mate, I guess like from the journey of the garage to then in traditional environments, offices, brands, big
Yeah,
networks, I've been there, you've been there. Here we are now back in the garage, the
yeah,
workshop of
yeah,
our home office, right?
yeah,
You've recently transitioned your entire business into a cloud-based new era model such as ours. Transitioning, I remember when I transitioned in 2019, I think I did about 55 sales that year. Naturally, the industry agent goes, I can't move because I've got restrictions, whether it's on my data, whether it's on my sold results. There's a lot of stuff that holds agents back, fear.
yeah,
There's fear mongering in the industry, but there's also that loss of business, the momentum, right, that you have in your back of your mind because you think if you move and change somewhere that, systematically, automatically almost, you're going to lose this momentum and people won't deal
yeah.
with you anymore. And I remember it took me about 6 months, maybe even more, of intensely reviewing, looking, analyzing when's the right time to make a move. Now, the reality is there's never a perfect time in business
No.
because we're attraction agents, business is always coming in. Tell me, how did you find that transition, mate, from traditional, big office, big network? I mean, you were already working more from home than ever before anyway.
Yeah.
But just tell me how was that transition?
So I guess when I joined the traditional business with Harris, they appointed a desk for me, and I think I sat there twice in the first year because
Yep.
I'm that hour and a half, hour and 45 out of Adelaide. They gave up my desk to someone else after 2 years and said, "Yeah, someone else needs to use this because I'm never there."
Yep.
I'm tech orientated with my electrical and programming background, so give me something tech. Even when I ran my own photography business through here and did about 140 weddings in 4 years, it was all digital because analog it just wasn't me. So tech's my thing, but essentially, even when I analyze photography, the photography is not about the photos. For me, it was about working with people. If you can help people to be comfortable and
Yep.
understand your process, you're working with them, well, then you get great photos because everyone's smiling, everyone's working.
Natural. Yeah.
Same within real estate. My transition, yeah, it was big. Yeah, it was big.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think there was
the
about 14 properties in the first week or something, wasn't there, mate?
yeah.
14 listings?
I, well, there was 11 sales in my
11.
last 3 weeks with my current and my previous employer,
Yep.
and then trying to transition people over that they only ever knew me.
Yep.
And so it was 116 properties in that year before the transition. Um, I run. I'm just going to call up here. I actually run um, a program that I can analyze where I'm at all times, even to the extent that it's alive on my phone called Airtable.
Yeah. You've shown me
Um,
this. Impressive. And this is why
and
you do phenomenal numbers.
so I can literally, here I am on my phone, and if I go into, well, there's my pipeline review. So there's my pipeline. Don't know if you can see that, but
Yep.
they're all names of people who plan on selling in the next sort of 3 months to 3 years. Are
Yep.
all covered, they're all there, and there's a lot of them. And they're people that I'm constantly trying to work with. Then you go into your sales side of things. Well, there's two that are subject to finances. There's another 11 that are now unconditional, and that's 11 unconditionals with EXP. So, and then there's all the settles. So I run with a high volume. You've got to stay in touch. you've got to, and that you're spinning plates all the time, all the time. And sleeping was a real problem for me as the volume got larger, and I'm looking, going, I just wake up and go, oh, what about those guys? Have I done this for those? Have I done that for them? What about these? Airtable solved that because I designed, and that was one of the, I never had control of my Airtable. That was managed by the company. Now that I bought my own subscription, very sneakily got everything out that I needed out of the other Airtable, just designed it all up, replicated it, and rejigged it. And now it's just everything I do goes in it. So when I, end of the day, I just do a glance over the whole thing. Yep, all in order. I can hit the hay, I'm gone. I don't now have to have those concerns about, well, where is everyone at a glance, so I can see exactly where everyone is at. But the transition from a personal perspective, there were people that I've had nothing but encouragement from locals of mates about time.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So many times people have said that because the reality was there's been people that have come up and said, mate, there's too many mouths in the trough.
Well, you know, mate, I experienced very similar when I changed over. I actually listed a few close friends' properties when I moved over from my former business and brand. And I just asked them openly in the lounge room. I said, guys, can I just ask you, because you'll tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, right? Because I knew these people through my circle. What's your thoughts on this change? They said, we're glad and it's about time and we want you and we're dealing with you and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And for me, that was very fulfilling. It was very supportive and conducive that I made the right decision. And, you know, the old saying goes, and I still say it to this day, and it might be very cliche, but we're in business for ourselves, but we're not in business by ourselves, right? That's the beautiful thing about this model. We've got so much support and great people around us. Because we're all collaborating, we're all wanting to lift each other up to help each other win and succeed, right?
My transition from a management perspective, Kirsten, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Rachel, sensational. And there's a team behind that, and I appreciate all of them because Harris were gracious in my exit. And I do believe you reap what you sow. I'd always towed the company line. I'd followed them and done everything I could for them and with them, and they'd supported me and I'd supported them. And when the choice came, yes, they fought for me to stay. There's no question for that. But I made it clear that I am going. Then it was a case of, okay, well, Tim, how do we make it right? And I said, well, it's all about the clients. Let's give the clients the opportunity. If they want to go with me or they want to stay, I don't know what the result is, as long as the clients are going to be looked after. And Harris were exactly on the same point with me, and they allowed 12 of them to transition straight over with me to EFP, and I kept that momentum up. But it was more than that. Those people had engaged me to look after them, and I didn't want to let them down. So I very much felt an obligation to see the journey through with them and have done with multiple of them. So
I see it all in my role as country leader and licensee across a number of states, and I've got to hand it to Phil and his leadership team. I've got nothing but respect and admiration. When any agents part ways with the Harris brand, it's always on good terms, it's fair and it's amicable, and it's done in the best interests of the clients. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with agents right now that I see the worst and the opposite side, where it's like seagulls fighting over a chip and the client is even in the best interests of the decisions that are being made by those businesses and leaders and principals within those businesses. So, you know, I think the mantra is, mate, always put the client first and the rest will always sort itself out in the wash, right?
Yeah. The volume is something that is a challenge. We're in the top 5, top 10 on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. When there's agents that are doing 3 300 GCI a month in large teams. Craig was just the two of us, and 760,000 GCI last financial year. It's a volume, but in volume, it's very easy to lose clients. So
Yeah.
it's all about communication, and that's where I'm a big fan of Agent Box. I record conversations. I've got tasks against every single property, and I'm running note taking behind every one of them, so that when
activity schedules.
Yeah, and reschedule. Just going through this morning, my to-do list today is 15 points long of clients that I need to, and I will not complete today without having either touched that person, rescheduled that person, and it's forward booking everything. You just need to keep in contact with people. People need to believe that you're actually in their corner, because reality is you are in their corner.
Yep, 100%. I want to ask you this one last question, mate. I'm talking to a number of industry agents right now that are looking at us, and they're looking at options. There's lots of movement happening in the industry as a whole right now. We're seeing a lot of businesses, smaller to medium ones, be acquired and absorbed into the bigger players. There's a lot of selling principals that are getting out, no longer wanting to be selling principals and just want to be a salesperson because of increased business operative costs, and less stock and inventory obviously is causing a lot of pain out there in the business world that we work within and operate within the industry. But the agents I'm talking to that might even watch this, more than likely, right? Because everyone's following everyone in the industry. I'm talking to a number that are like, Chris, I don't know if I should move September. Do I wait to Christmas? I've got listings coming in. When's the best time to move, right? What would be your advice for somebody who sold 116 transactions last year and moved your entire world as you knew it to our model? What would be one key point of advice as a takeaway for that agent?
I'm going to explain how I feel. Okay. I feel as if the shackles have been removed. I can't put a finger on and say what it actually is, because I've been a remote agent from my previous for 10 years. But the transition of headspace over to now it's mine, but also I'm not alone. I've got all these other agents, and I'm in touch with a number of them on a regular basis who have no benefits out of what I do. And I have no benefits out of what they do. But as the tide rises, all boats are lifted. And we're all lifting each other up, encouraging each other, sowing seeds where we need to, watering where we need to. The harvest will come when it comes. But the reality for me is if a sense of freedom is what you're after, and a sense of completion for the next stage of a journey, I just can't rate EXP high enough for what it's done for me and for the journey. I just can't wait to keep rolling along with it.
Mate, we are incredibly proud to have you on board and really honoured to collaborate. I love our chats. I love it when we just catch up throughout the week and we bounce ideas, and it's not always real estate. It's just how you're going, what's happening in your life, your world. Mate, this has been one of the most touching episodes I've had with your story, but most certainly the most inspiring and uplifting at the same token. I can see why you are a man of great success both in life and business, because as I said at the beginning, you're very humble, you're hungry, but you put people first, most importantly in life. God bless you, Tim. Thank you for joining us, mate, on this Walk the Talk episode. Folks, that's a wrap up. What a special EP. The man from the Copper Coast, the #1 agent, most certainly. A very hungry and humble man doing high volume, but putting people first. Until the next Walk the Talk episode, we say bye for now. Cheers, folks.